Secondly, I'd like to talk about excellence. I hear all the time from friends who are at firms, partners of big firms, who are training young associates, moving associates through the ranks. I see it myself as a client, as a consumer of services, that there is, for reasons that I can't explain, a tendency when you graduate from law school these days to not want to work hard any longer. It's as though, you have that golden ticket, and so that's it. That's all you need to do, and life is going to be good for you. But the reality is there are 1.3 million lawyers in this country as of the end of last year. And that number grows by the thousands, the tens of thousands, every year when more law school graduates move into the workforce. And so it's really, really important that you remember when you graduate from law school that you must be excellent in everything you do. You will be competent eventually. I think people think when they graduate from law school, I know I did, that you are already competent. You're a lawyer, right? You've passed the bar, you've graduated, you feel like, that's it, you're the lawyer. But you're not. You've just begun your education, actually. And so you have so many things to learn. So I would say maybe 5-7 years out, you begin to have competency. And then maybe 10 years out, you begin to have developed an expertise in your field. And it used to be that transition from competency to expertise was enough, so that when you were 10 or 15 years out, you were building a robust practice, you were a partner, and you were respected in the legal community and among your clients as being an expert in the field. That's really no longer the case, because there are so many experts. I mean, eventually, right, you're just competing at every level as you progress. You are progressing right alongside thousands of other people who are also becoming experts on the same path that you are. And so you have to somehow separate yourselves from your peers at a certain point if you want to be successful in a law practice. And I think for me, as a client, a consumer of legal services frequently, I have to say that that's excellence. I work with many partners, and even partners who are truly recognized experts in their field routinely send me documents that need to be edited. And I can't tell you how furious I am knowing that I've spent $780. I just paid a bill last week. The partner was billing out at $9.95 an hour. And I routinely edit his work. Now, does that make sense to you? No. And so when I talk about excellence, I mean, it's not Nobel Prize winning excellence that I'm talking about. It's I mean, we're thought leaders, right? I mean, I think a lot of these people, they become experts because they're thought leaders. They understand concepts maybe in a way that the rest of us do not, and that's fantastic for them. But at the end of the day, as a client, you get work product. And I don't want to edit it, frankly, for $9.95 an hour, right? So I feel like excellence is a theme that we need to really focus on when we graduate from law school, and a program like Nikki's is really a great starting point for that. I think it's that transition from the impractical to the practical that you really need as you graduate, and so I'm very supportive of that. And I'll tell you the other key to achieving excellence, in my opinion, is setting standards for yourself and also accepting constructive criticism as you go, right? It's very hard to learn how to accept criticism. And I'm going to tell you, at one point, sort of in the middle of my career, I had a performance review. And I had always, up until that day, had excellent performance reviews. And on that day, I was told that my work was indeed excellent, but everyone hated working with me. And the reason they hated working with me was because I made all of them look bad because I worked too hard. And I was shocked because my supervisor at the time said, maybe you should dial it back so other people don't look bad. Okay, now to this day, I have to tell you, I feel that this is absurd, okay? Anyone in business will tell you that you want everyone to rise, right? You don't want to bring people down to the lowest common denominator. That's not how you build a successful business. And so the fact that I was being told to dial it back, rather than hearing that other people had been told to dial it up, was really an eye-opening experience for me. And so I will tell you, like Nikki, I had an epiphany that day. And for me, it was that this really isn't a great fit, right? I have very high standards for myself and my peers, and I just decided that I wasn't willing to work at a place that wanted me to lower them, and where that would be institutionalized, in fact. I just thought that was just not acceptable for me, and I couldn't commit to that for a long term. So I really decided immediately that I would be leaving and I would find a new position. But, as I said, it's important to understand how to accept criticism, and there is always a kernel of truth, no matter how absurd someone is, right? They have a perspective, and it may not be yours, but there's something valuable in it if you think about it hard enough. And so I went home that night and I thought, well, what can I learn from this? And I realized that, well, I don't have a performance issue, but I'm not a good member of a team. And in order to be successful and build relationships in my career, I need to be a good functioning member of a team. People need to want to work with me. You can't have good professional relationships if everyone says, she's poisoned, she'll make you look bad because she works harder than everybody else. It's crazy. You just can't have that, right? People need to like you. They need to want to work with you. And so I went to work the next day and I said to myself, I'm now going to make everyone I work with look good. And I spent every day until I did leave the company eventually, but I spent every day on that team making a point of praising the work of my peers, vocally acknowledging the contributions of my peers to the project that we were working on together, and doing that with our supervisors, so that they would receive the credit that they were due for the work that they were in fact doing. It may not have been to my standard, but it was valuable in its own right, and I learned to recognize that. And I'll tell you, although I didn't stay there, I to this day have strong relationships with the people who are on that team, and in fact one of them was that playdate I mentioned earlier. So this is everything that you do in your career is about relationships, but excellence has to be the underlying theme, and it has to be what you always remember will ground you no matter what is happening in your life. And I believe it's the thing that will enable you to prevail in any adverse circumstance. So these are the two things that really work together. I would also say that as a woman, having experienced sexual harassment and gender bias, these are the kinds of experiences that can make you very angry or bitter, and I know plenty of people who have allowed that to happen to them. And I've never done that. And the reason is because these are emotions that are very draining and they're very counterproductive. And I wish that society were different. And I wish that I had the additional energy to be a community activist and change society. But I don't. I have just enough energy in me to get through the day and to raise my 6-year-old and be a good wife to my husband. And so I choose, and others may not make this choice, but I choose to just work harder to prove myself in the workplace when these things come up. And I found that channeling that energy, not in a counterproductive, angry way, but in a productive way that enables me to showcase the talent and intellect that I have, has every time been the antidote to one of those experiences. So I can't tell you what would work for you, and especially for the women in the audience and folks of other groups. I can't even begin to imagine some of the adverse circumstances that you'll experience in your personal life and your careers. I don't pretend to even begin to be able to understand all of that. But I can just tell you in my own very limited experience as a woman that you can make these experiences positive, productive experiences for yourself as you grow in your career. And I encourage you to think about how to do that so that you can move beyond them and be successful.